Welcome back to Starticus Chats. My name's Alistair Cameron from Starticus, and I am joined by Martin from WorkShore. Martin, I want to know more about WorkShore. Tell us what you're up to.
Well, my name is Martin Gilchrist, and I am the founder of WorkShore. WorkShore is an early stage startup, and what we are all about is facilitating co-working. In particular, what we want to do is assist freelancers who want short-term space in co-working spaces. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a practical example to try and explain what we're actually doing at WorkShore. People like me, so in my day job before WorkShore, I was an accountant. I worked from home many times a week, but I'd meet people in Belfast maybe once a week. So I didn't need a co-working space for a whole week or even for a whole day. I only needed it for a couple of hours. But a lot of the co-working spaces couldn't facilitate that. They needed you to book out for a week. So what we're going to do at WorkShore is we're going to create a community, and we're going to create a web platform where you and I can sign up. And for maybe £10 a month, maybe £20 a month, you will have access to a desk that WorkShore has booked for the whole month. So we go to the co-working venue, we book the table for the month, and then we rent it out to you in 1 hour, 2 hour slots. So in essence, that's the purpose of WorkShore, to facilitate that short-term need for desks, meeting rooms, boardrooms, conference rooms that you only need for an hour, so that are generally, in other instances, rented out for a month or a year.
And are you reaching out to the traditional, I suppose, service office and co-working spaces, or is this something which you could see being applied to, say, more traditional businesses where they're not using as much office space as they used to?
That and all of that.
Okay.
So basically there's been a massive change in the way people work and the way people want to work. So who wants to work in a rabbit hutch now? Nobody wants to go into the same office and sit there for hours every day for no particular reason other than the office is there. And now the problem the office owners or the office holders have is, what do they do with all that empty space and their spare desks and all the rest? Our job is to help them fill it in the time that's most appropriate for them. So they don't have to rent it out for 6 or 7 hours a day. They essentially let the space when it suits them to let it. So they can come along to WorkShore and say, look, we've got a desk here, and between 10 and 3 on Tuesdays, we want to invigorate the space, we want to give it a little bit of interest, we want to see fresh faces coming in and out. That table will be available to WorkShore, and that's the time slots that we'll rent out to you or to I at an hour at a time or 2 hours at a time.
I like that. And like, obviously, in terms of like validation, are you getting feedback and potential feedback from users and those serviced offices or office spaces?
It's been fantastic, the validation we got. So we've done a whole host of things to make sure that this is an idea that people would actually pay for. That's the wonderful thing. If nobody's going to pay for it, WorkShore doesn't exist. The first thing we did, when we just had an idea, it wasn't even on the back of an envelope. It was an idea in my head. I went, right, this is what I want to do. I want to facilitate freelancers that need the same resources I have. I don't see anybody else doing it. Would anybody pay for it? And I went to GoFundMe. Now, I always thought GoFundMe was just for charities, but it's not. Businesses can use it as well to validate an idea. I described the idea and I said, if you're interested in this, show me some support. And I'll take that money and I'll do something interesting with it. £500. Just like that. Easiest money I've ever made in my life. People were so and it wasn't even people that were near my location, Newcastle and Downpatrick. There were people from Ballymena, people from Newry, people from all over the place. Just loved the idea and wanted me to help it with it. So we took that little bit of seed funding and we went along to a venue called Brunel's in Newcastle. And if you don't know Brunel's, it's a fantastic restaurant right on the seafront. Beautiful, really contemporary, beautiful space. There's fantastic food, really, really lovely. But it's only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So the other days it's closed. And I said to him, look, can I take your place on a Tuesday? And I will fill every desk in it. And went, how will you do that? I'm going to take those desks and I'm going to make them co-working desks and I'm going to put it out to the world. I put that, all we did was use Eventbrite and LinkedIn. I put that story out to the world and within 2 days, all the desks were gone. It was sold out.
Amazing.
And we had a pop-up co-working day and the vibe was brilliant. I thought, well, by about lunchtime or 2 o'clock, half the people had gone. At 5 o'clock, the place was still buzzing. There's conversation, there was engagement, there were talks. It was just fantastic. And people were paying £25 a pop for a seat in a restaurant. There was no food.
Yeah.
You know, there was no formal talks like the brilliant talks we're getting here at Digital DNA. It was just user-generated, people that were there for the day, getting the opportunity. We had 2 panel discussions, and we had 2 what I called roundtable talks.
Yeah.
And you can elect which one you wanted to be part of. And it was just the people who were there co-working on the day elected which one they wanted to go to. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So the validation from that, the validation from GoFoundMe, we've also been very lucky. We've been supported by VR Park, who are actually here down at Digital DNA today.
Yep.
We have a virtual suite of offices, which we've changed into or we're using as a virtual co-working space.
Yep.
Every single one of those offices is booked out. And we're having virtual events, virtual team days, virtual presentations, workshops and everything else within that virtual world. Yeah. And all the feedback we're getting is that, yes, people understand that there's a place for co-working desks where you rent a desk for a month at a time or maybe a week at a time. But there is definitely this thing that if people are, for example, down in here for Digital DNA, and they just want somewhere where they can take a break out and meet a couple of people for an hour or so, how do you book that? That's the gap that WorkShore is filling.
And have you seen any competitors or anyone working in the same space where you see, well, that's a London version, for example, of what you're looking to do, or is this something that you feel is unique?
It's not completely unique.
Okay.
You know, it's not that you can't go to some co-working spaces and book a table for an hour. It's not that you can't hot desk somewhere.
Yeah.
What we're doing is that we're being all about that. That is our raison d'etre. That is our purpose. That is our mission. That is our passion. People who maybe work from home most of the time and just want a space temporarily or a one-off or once a week for an hour or so, that's our target market. And that isn't being really hammered by anybody, that niche. So when we're thinking about how do we make this easier, how do we make this cost-effective, how do we make it useful to the venues, how do we make it useful to the freelancers, it's within that framework, within that bubble that we're really trying to do this. And I suppose that's what's unique. We don't hear, and we've been doing a lot of research and looking at a lot of other options. A lot of other people are doing this, and we are collaborating and working with other vendors that have tools and resources that will be useful for us to do that. So we're not building the whole thing from scratch, but there's nobody doing uniquely this. And even when we look at the platforms that enable people to book co-working desks, such as Near You or those type of things, they're interested in working with us because they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing, and they're both mutually beneficial.
Happy days. And finally, obviously, what's the kind of best thing that you've seen at this year's Digital DNA, or obviously the thing that stands out to you about the event this year?
You're the best thing I've seen at this year.
Mine, shush.
I'm not joking. I'm not even smiling.
Apart from me.
I was... who was it I bumped into? His name's gone completely out of my head, and he's like me. He's here every year. I've been to every single Digital DNA from day dot 10 years ago when Gareth Quinn was out. I have to say that from my personal perspective, this has been one of the best Digital DNAs. It's a bit smaller, but what it made it was more personal, and I get to see the people like yourself and many other friends and connections. They're down Digital DNA that I want to go and talk to, and I'm getting the opportunity to go and talk to them. So generally and overall, that was one of the best things I've seen. In relation to who have I been really impressed by, Insulin. Emma, is it? I think that's a young lady who is really knocking it out of the park. If I could bottle her charisma and sell it, I'd be a billionaire. VR Park, I really love what they're doing there. Obviously, I'm benefiting from what VR Park's doing, but for the virtual metaverse type experience, I think they're David and the team there at VR Park are doing really well. But you know what? It's so hard to pick because there's so many great things.
No, good stuff. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the community element, isn't it? It's like the fact that you're seeing people that you haven't seen for a long time, but also just those conversations add on to what you're doing and kind of probably help you with good new business and new opportunities as well.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Two reasons I come here. The first one is to catch up with old friends. You know, there's going to be a lot of people here that I don't have an excuse to reach out and say, how are you? I want to talk to you. Let's sit down and have a coffee. David Henderson is talking today.
For sure.
And he's a great friend of mine, but I don't see him all the time. Just by serendipity, we happen to walk past each other. We're able to sit down for half an hour and have a conversation and catch up. I'm learning what he's doing. He's learning what I'm doing. Fantastic for that type of stuff. And the second thing is we're all business people. At the end of the day, we'll have to make a profit or we're not here. You know, nobody's supporting us just to come out in the jolly. But there are legitimate and genuine opportunities here to do real business that makes real money, and that's the foundation of this. So when I'm walking around enjoying myself and drinking coffee and laughing out loud and having nice wee chats and all the rest, fundamentally in the back of my head, I have to be here for 100%,
100%,
It does work for that.
100%, and always like in the back of my head, even though all of this is good crack and the conversations flow, you still got to walk and network and do the room and,
Yep.
and try and find 2 or 3 people of some sense of connectivity that might help you or your business, or in the long run might help them. And that's what work is all
Yep.
about at the end of the day. So listen, Martin, it's been a pleasure chatting. It's lovely to find out more about what you're doing with WorkShore as well. How can people find you online at the moment, or where do they go to check out more details?
Well, we've done quite a bit of work in relation to our Google. So
Yep.
if you type WorkShore into Google,
Yep.
we will definitely pop up in the
Yep.
search. That's probably the easiest way at the moment.
Yep.
We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on all those
Yep.
places. But type WorkShore into Google.
Yep.
That's us.
Right. WorkShore. WorkShore. Go check out Martin. Martin is the last person that we are chatting with over the 2 days at Digital DNA. So thanks for listening in to Starkers Chats. We won't be back in a mo because that's the end. So until next year, thank you.
Thank you.